Okay. Now, once they described how they did it, I thought, okay, good way to do it. So there we go.
Good show. Well,
Right.
welcome to
Anyway, welcome
Talking
all. Yeah.
Niagara.
Yeah, welcome all. Welcome all to Talking Niagara. Yeah, something happened on my phone, distracted me. Okay, it is September the 9th, Tuesday, and interesting stuff. This last weekend, now it looks like the IDF is essentially going block by block through Gaza City.
Wait a minute. The first story we should talk about here.
Oh, we'll come to that second.
All
Gary,
right. Okay.
Gary. Yep, we'll come to that
Gary.
second. Got it under control. All right. Just we didn't get to this one yesterday, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I've got the one train going in two different directions stuff from Gary.
Yes.
It's interesting. We'll get to that. Yeah. So it looks like the IDF is basically going through demolishing block by block in Gaza City. From what I'm seeing.
Yeah, they're doing their horrible things as they always do. They have they're knocking over buildings, residential buildings, everything. As I said yesterday, they months ago, Trump said the place is unlivable, so the people got to go. And when they had a ceasefire, the people started coming back to where their homes were, even though they were bombed out. The Israelis didn't like that, so they started the war up again. They started starving people, and they still couldn't get them to move. And now they're going to blow everything up. Doesn't matter what it is. They're going to blow it up under any kind of circumstances. They've said these two towers, these two tall buildings were used by Hamas.
They're talking about the Al Rawaya buildings in the Tel Al Hawa neighborhood, and they're basically saying that they were used by Hamas.
Yeah, they said that there's solar panels on top that power the tunnels. I doubt that there was enough power coming from those towers to produce a whole lot of anything, particularly when all the other infrastructure is destroyed. There are hostages in those tunnels, and they're trying to make them unlivable if they're even still alive. I don't know. They don't give a hoot about the hostages at all. It's the whole Hannibal directive thing, where you don't care about the hostages, and I don't know. It's just really bad. And a little bit later article you posted there, Hamas is still managing to fight back. They sadly they killed 4 Israeli soldiers. With an IUD, and they blew up a tank, which is something incredible. But they're still functioning.
Yeah,
I have a very hard time believing how they're able to function, but they are. That gives you an idea how determined they are.
Yeah.
But this whole thing has got to stop. It's got to stop. There aren't going to be any hostages left if Israel keeps doing what it's doing. I mean. They just can't, and they know that. They don't care. It's more important that they make the place unlivable, so they can have a reason to push people out.
Yeah, and Volker Turk, the United Nations High Commissioner on Human Rights, has accused Israel Monday of committing war crime upon war crime.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And the West says this, and the West says that, and Trump keeps giving Hamas ultimatums. Well, 99% of the people in Gaza right now have nothing to do with Hamas. They couldn't have anything to do with them if they wanted to, because there's no communications, there's no telephones, there's no phones, there's no anything like that. And for the average person, anytime there's a journalist, he takes a picture, the Israelis zero in on him, kill him. They've been targeting journalists again. Anybody
And when you
happen to be able to take a picture. Sorry.
Yeah, when you consider probably what they're using is these cell phones to take pictures nowadays, and everybody's got a cell phone, right?
Yeah, some of the camera crews and journalists still have equipment, but as soon as it's discovered, the Israeli government bombs them. They won't let any independent journalists in there. They haven't since the war began. They don't want the world to see, and they're bummed out every time the world does see, and they just go about their dirty business, keeping doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know, the whole that, like I said, the thing has got to stop. Trump has come up with a peace plan which puts everybody in jeopardy. And then he's going to build his seaside resort there. Oh God, I don't know what the hell. Where is his mind?
Yeah. The seaside resort's a no-go, really. It's by a person who has very little knowledge about that area. I'm not saying that I possess the greatest knowledge, but very little knowledge about that area, the history of the area, etc., etc. Yeah.
Well, Gaza goes back to the very ancients of times.
Exactly.
It's like you're thinking 2000.
What I'm thinking. I know nothing because of the fact that this history goes back thousands of years, right?
Yeah, there's been like the Egyptians were fighting the people from Gaza at one time. You know what I mean? A little later on, the Philistines seem to have settled in and around that area, and then
you got the Canaanites and various other biblical sects, right?
Yeah, the Canaanite city-states were usually allied with Egypt. Egypt had kind of control over them, but they were sort of client states of Egypt for a long time. So the history of the place goes back millennia. But aside from that, most of the people in Gaza are refugees from when they were pushed out of Israel. So when Israel was created in 1948, the first thing they did was take every Palestinian that lived there and tossed them out. That was like 750,000 people at the time. There was only 500,000 Israelis, and they pushed over 750,000 Palestinians out. Many of them went to Jordan. Many of them went to Gaza. Many of them went other places. But no, they're trying to just kill everybody. That's what I see. That whole, I mean, it's the most ugliest thing of all time. Israel is not a democracy. It's an ethno-religious state. Ethno-religious state where it has democratic processes for you if you happen to be someone they permit. Early on in Israel's beginning, David Ben-Gurion permitted 20% of the population of Israel to be Palestinian. Those people feel themselves and of course that's what happened. So about half of them were Christians and half of them were Muslims. But they feel themselves strained too. I don't know. They're on the cut. It depends on who gets in. Again, Ben Gvir's smokers, those Palestinians inside Israel will be targeted. In the meantime, though, they're doing nasty business in the West Bank, and Gaza is just unspeakable.
Yeah. All right. We'll come back to the other story involving Gaza later on. And Gary, basically, one train going in two different directions. Yes, he's given quite a lowdown on this. So he's given us quite the story, right? And he basically showed us pictures of a pin that was probably about, I suppose, maybe more than a foot long, maybe 15 inches long, but about 3 inches in circumference, which were clearly sheared off. And this was the cause of the the broken train yesterday.
Well, yeah, he reported to us yesterday the green train, and of course, Gary, who never sleeps, somehow happens to be right there at that time, walking
Yeah.
towards his towards Heritage Avenue, Heritage and Stanley, where he has a storage unit. And he heard this, and the green bastard from parts unknown happened to be there with him, being the same person. Anyway, so there was this enormous bang, a sound. He said he'd never heard anything so loud. What happened was the pin that coupled the trains let go. I mean, it broke.
Yeah.
And it let go with a bang. And this is a pin that's 3-inch diameter. And one of the things he says later on, he says, how many of those pins are defective? If that one goes, the other one goes. But what was happening then was a train engine going one way and his cars going the other. He told me that he talked to the engineers of the train. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what am I supposed to do, that kind of thing. Well, Gary phoned the fire department and said, look, you've got cars here look like they have chemicals or oil in them. He says, you got to get ready for anything that might happen. You've got a train that's rolling backwards. You got to chock the wheels somehow. And the train engineers didn't know how to react. So there were potentially a whole trainload of cars rolling backwards, and they could have rolled right into Thorlstone Road. Now, the gates would have went down, of course, because it uses electric power crossed between the two through the train itself to ignite that. But the fact is, if it started free rolling, you never know what would have happened to it. Luckily for CN, it's on a pretty even grade there. But he mentioned you don't want another Lake Megantic to happen here, like it happened in Quebec, where the train cars just kind of rolled into town and blew up, that kind of thing. So I don't know. Thanks for the story, Gary. Thanks for being there. And really, the CN says, oh, there was nothing to worry about. Gary phoned the mayor, and the mayor then made comments or message to the mayor, and the mayor made comments on it about, there was, they have, his concerns that could be derailment on it. CN says they have all kinds of contingency plans, but when Gary was there, no one seemed to know what to do.
Yeah, when I went through there about 8:20 yesterday morning, the albeit that they were cutting off the Church's Lane cut from Whirlpool Drive, there was no moving train. Thorlstone was open at one end. There was about, I guess, 3 or 4 carriages that were decoupled from the main train. So the road was partially open. There wasn't any, the Stanley Avenue northern section because the train loops, there's a northern section of the loop and the southern section of the loop. So the northern section of the loop was open, although that's only minor league helpful, right? Because if you're going down Stanley, you're not getting anywhere, right? Because the train is stopped further up.
Well, I went down St. Paul Street, and there was all the whole train was sitting there on top.
Yeah.
As it went over under that.
Yeah.
So what we have to talk about here is the potential that would have happened.
Yeah.
And the inability of the train staff to know what to do. I mean, you've got the engineers.
They
should be briefed on what to do. They didn't even phone the fire department, which should have been the first thing they did.
Yeah.
And they should have been able to lock up the train. I mean, once once they start, once they start rolling away, you got to chock the wheels to make sure it doesn't go any further. They're just lucky it was on fairly level
Well,
ground.
actually, I would say I would say in the new electronic world, there should be a button. The train probably isn't moving that fast when you catch up with it initially. There should be like almost, well, actually, in the electronic world, could we kind of have things that suddenly realize that it's separated, the carriage is separated, and maybe puts a brake on?
Well, those things should have independent brakes. I suppose they should really have something that would
well, it's not
would automatically lock up the wheels if there is a decoupling. But I mean, that's a bit complicated procedure. But
it's not the realms of possibility. You've got to keep a live wire up and down the train in order to keep the brakes off. As soon as that live connection goes, then the brakes activate, and the only reason that live connection would go is if the cars get uncoupled.
Well, you're talking quite a bit of infrastructure differences there, but the main takeaway from here was the train staff didn't know what to do. They didn't even know they just uncoupled. They and you had a train moving on its own away from the engine. So if you had more of a grade, and even just on a minor thing, if the thing had crossed over Thorlestone Road for 4 hours, took 4 hours to fix it, they're just lucky it broke where it did. It didn't interfere too much with traffic. But if it crossed Thorlestone Road and it decoupled when it could have blocked off Drummond Road, and depending on how long the train was, it could have Drummond Road and Thorlestone Road, and you know what I mean. So
so it was stopped across Thorlestone, I'm assuming, yesterday morning, which would be about right. Probably be a couple of kilometers from the point at where I was at the back end of the train at Churches Lane and Walpole.
It didn't go as far as Thorlestone Road. No, didn't cover it. It broke after that. So it was it was just lucky where it happened. That's
because anyway, so it is of concern, and so long as they make the upgrades to actually what they need to do is make this more safe. I think that's what we're essentially talking about, right?
Yes, basically. But it didn't surprise me, but still was shocking to me that the engineers didn't know what to do right away.
Yeah, and
it had to be Gary to phone the fire department.
Yeah, well, and what I see here is it said I looked up about a couple of failures, and it says they're rare, but they can be serious at times. They can cause derailments, cargo loss, or worse if not quickly addressed. Right.
Well, those pins should never break, for one thing. They're usually made of a special kind of steel. And
everything breaks, Dave, at a given time. Everything with enough stress will break.
These things should be able to last hundreds of years if they're built properly. The fact that they had a failure on this, it's either because the connections were too loose or they weren't fitted properly. The pin itself could last for centuries if it's fitted correctly.
Yeah. Okay. That's a different question entirely. That's something, that's something you'd have to have expert examination of the pin, and in order to determine that.
I have a feeling it was sheared, really, because I can't see any other way of doing it. If the pin is fitted properly, the other explanation is it was defective. That's a possibility too. But if it's fitted properly, it seems to me that there was a shear stress on it. It wasn't fitted properly, and that shear stress was the thing that broke it.
Yeah, because if it wasn't fitted properly, it's wobbling around in there, right?
Yeah, and you have this shearing action going on,
Exactly.
right? If it's tight enough within its tolerances, that pin should never ever
Yeah,
go.
exactly. Yeah, and but you're right. There's one of two potentials there. We're not going to know about that in the short term, but I presume that CM will have some experts look at that.
Presumably, I think they were all over.
I hope so. I hope so, because the thing is, what you learn from these 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 traffic type accidents is, to try and stop it from happening again. That's the whole purpose of a lot of these investigations.
All I say is they got really lucky.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree. I agree. It's pretty bad, and I do thank Gary for being there.
The man who never sleeps.
No, it really is a good thing that he was there, and that we gave you those pictures yesterday morning.
Yeah, we were ahead of the story, thanks to Gary.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. All right. So, anything else about that? Any other thoughts?
No, not really. It was just I don't know. It's just like I just repeated. They got very lucky that it happened where it did.
Yeah,
and that the thing that didn't roll out of control.
Well, on a bigger grade,
like it did in Lake Megantic.
Yeah, on a larger grade, it would have done. But thankfully, we didn't have. That's a fairly flat section of rail.
Yeah.
But
it's still separated from.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I can say about it.
Yeah. Okay. Port Colborne Legion branch is pitching to Port Colborne City veteran crosswalks. I'm a little bit concerned about making crosswalks a statement, and I have the same. I've had the same concerns about the rainbow crosswalks, etc., etc. These crosswalks are supposed to be a place for safety, for place for people get across the road. I'm not so sure that coloring them up necessarily is a good thing.
Well, I'm fully for it. I'm fully for having crosswalks in prominent places with lest you forget on it as a reminder as we travel farther and farther away from the great wars that our folks were in.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not concerned about the message. I'm just concerned about whether is the use of crosswalks the right thing. That's my only concern.
I think it's a good thing because you have like the reminder thing. You have a cenotaph in every place, but if you have a special crosswalk with lest you forget in a couple of different places, a busy one, then people will always see it and always remember it. I think it's a good thing to do. The problem is expense. It's very expensive to get that kind of resistant paint. It'll be like $14,000 for one.
Yeah, and the paint we got traffic resistant paint in white because obviously they experiment with the white and the yellow, but very difficult to get other colors, of course.
Yeah, and I think they want even a higher grade of paint than regular road paint, just to make sure it lasts as long as it can. The issue here too is where they're going to put it. In Port Colborne, they want to put it in a place where there isn't a stoplight. In a prominent place, there isn't a stoplight, which is against the rules of Ontario. You really have to have, if you're going to have a crosswalk, it has to be safe enough for you to walk it, which means that you have to have a stoplight there, a traffic light.
Yeah.
So aside from that, they want to do it. We were thinking of the same thing here in Niagara Falls. So if you can have an LGBTQ crosswalk, then I think it's pretty obviously you can also revere the soldiers that went off and went off to die.
I know. I'm not disputing the message that you're saying. I'm just concerned. I'm just concerned for public safety on any form of crosswalk, right?
Well, I don't see the safety concerns because it's going to be, if they do it right, it's going to be at a light. It's going to be obviously a pathway across.
Yeah.
Right. And due to the picture, it looks like a very conventional type of crosswalk. I mean, I can't see it being anything different from an LGBTQ crosswalk. I mean, what is the LGBTQ one less safe than?
No, and remember when I made my first statement, I said it's the same with the LGBTQ ones. I don't dispute the message. The message about gay rights is fine. I'm 100% in favor of that, but I'm just concerned that we're concerned more about fancy sidewalk crosswalks than we are about the safety of them. That was my concern.
Yeah, I can't see the safety being compromised here at all. As long as they look basically like a crosswalk and are on a light, it'd be very, very you'd have to be thick not to understand that is a crosswalk. But it is a continuous reminder that the foundations of this country were born by tragic sacrifice.
Yeah, and of course we're talking about September because the September was, of course, the start of the Second World War.
Yes, it was. Well, I think what the Brits got into it the 3rd, and we got into it 6-7 days later.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's the reason, of course, why it's under discussion right now, because of the anniversaries. We're in anniversary season for that. Right.
And Americans had to wait 2 years and 3 months before they decided to join in.
12th of December, isn't it, or something like that?
6th of December, yeah. So it would make it October, November, December. So 2.25 years later, the Americans decide they're going to join in, but they didn't even decide. The Japanese bombed them
for them.
And then Hitler declared war on the United States, not the other way around. He would have stayed out of the European war if Hitler did not declare war on them.
Yeah. Or may have done, yeah.
Oh, they probably, well, they were still very reluctant to get into the European war. They wanted to take care of the Japanese first, of course, but Hitler made that impossible for them. Lucky for Britain.
So here's a question. Where's the location that they do it? Are they kind of looking to have it at the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 56 in Port Colborne, or is it somewhere close to there?
It says where it's going to go. 3 crossings in the area of Clarence and Catherine Streets, and another in Sugarloaf and Elm. Yeah, I'm very familiar with that because there's a hospital close to that, and streets of H.H. Knoll, Lakeview Park, where Remembrance Day ceremonies are held.
Well, that makes sense.
The problem, of course, is it said that it was going to hit $6,500 to contribute to the project, blah, 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 blah. So, and it shows a picture of it. It says, he says the pitch is for crosswalks to include Lest We Forget. And there is a picture there of it, if I can get it. Well, anyway, I don't know, you can see it a little bit there.
Yeah. No, it's a red and white. It's a red and white crosswalk with "Lest We Forget" on a soldier standing there. Yeah.
Yeah, that looks very much like the guy at the cenotaph down in Queenston there.
Yeah.
So anyway, that well, I hope they can do it. I can't really see much resistance. It's going to be rather expensive, but Then again, it's a one-time expense, and they seem to, and cities seem to have this need to spend otherwise that this is a worthy project, and some cities have the need to spend money on concrete ping pong tables.
Yeah, Niagara Falls is not going to live that one down. Let's be honest, eh? Yeah.
Or the doggy toy thing in the park where they have a play, sort of an obstacle course for dogs or something like that. Yeah, that's way up there too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Where were we? All right. Well, let's see what happens. Do we actually? I didn't read the end. Did they what was the decision about this?
I don't know. They're still talking about it.
Talking about it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So they're proposed. They may not make the first all of them at the same time, but it would be nice to have one of them done before Remembrance Day. The one there, and I think it's Elm and Sugarloaf, where the Remembrance Day ceremonies take place. There's a nice park there, so I think that would be a good place to start it. Even if they have to defer the other ones and do one year, depending on the budget constraints, but that's the one they want to do, the first one.
Yeah. Okay. This is a bit of good news. There was an arrest made after somebody was throwing rocks from Niagara area overpasses, and the OPP has finally made an arrest. This has been going on all summer. I heard about it a few months ago and thought how absolutely insane this was.
This is nothing new. As a matter of fact, once I read it, I thought, wow, that's something you don't hear much about anymore. Yeah, you don't even get the kids throwing snowballs at cars from the overpasses. Mm-hmm. My father happened to be driving. I think it was under the Thorstone Road bridge, and kids were throwing bricks there, and that's many years ago. 50 years ago, and I remember it used to be a thing where idiots thought that was a cool thing to do, to throw things at cars going underneath the bridge. Now some people would just throw tennis balls or something like that. It would scare people that would swerve, and everybody think, oh, ha ha. But others would throw stones or bricks.
I'm sorry, at 100 kilometers an hour, if you swerve, that could be a fatal accident.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know. They somehow got their jollies doing that.
Yeah.
But in this case, they actually apprehended a guy. Now, whether the guy's all straight in the head or not, I don't know. Yeah. It seems to me that they caught the guy easy enough. But why was he doing it? There's no explanation why. Most of the time, it's just for kicks, like sort of misguided EDC for kicks, and like I don't know what goes through a person's mind who wants to smash a person's car with a rock or something like that as it drives under the the
406. Where this happened is on 406 between Westchester and 4th Avenue in St. Catharines, QEW near Mountain Road in Niagara Falls, Highway 58 by Pine Street in Thorold. All of those areas, there's fast-moving traffic underneath.
Was it the same guy?
That actually is a question that concerns me, because if this individual was a St. Catharines resident, so did they catch the one responsible for the St. Catharines events, or have they caught the one responsible for all events?
Yeah, it seems to be, I don't know, quite different.
Well, they're saying. Okay, so they laid two
charges. This
guy
is 48 years old, though.
Yeah, but they also laid
48. Some charges. Like, usually he's a kid.
Yeah, they laid some charges against youths earlier on.
Okay.
Actually, sorry, no, that's out of the region. Sorry. Some youths laid charges against youths in Markham for doing this exact same thing earlier. But in some respects, you kind of expect it. Or you don't expect it, but again, it's wrong. But kind of youths, they don't know better yet, right?
So this guy was 48 years old. 48. That in itself is unusual. So I'd like to know really why a 48-year-old man does it. I can understand some juvenile delinquents getting thrills. Well, I can't understand why they do it, but that seems to be more likely. It's usually a kid that's throwing snowballs or stones off of the bridge because they just don't got the brain to understand what kind of serious damage they could be doing. And kid, what are you going to do with a kid? One kid was throwing snowballs by the hospital, the bridge over the hospital there, and I happened to be pulled off, and I caught up to them, and I says, "What are you doing? They just told me to F off and take off, and what are you going to do about it?" kind of thing. Not that I really could do about it because they were scramming anyway, and it would have taken forever for the police to get there. That was days before I had a camera. I could have taken their picture.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, hey, they're probably 100 meters away from you before you can even start running, right?
I don't think I can run. It would be about maybe about like an hour or two before I got my feet moving that fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
To even call it a run.
Yeah.
There's Dave sort of jogging after two youth who are fleeing on foot. Hey, come back here.
Yeah, I get it. I do get it. It's like it's
you young scallywags.
as the voice that wafts into the distance,
Yeah.
And young scallywag number two comes along and gives him the finger.
Oh, you know what? More likely they turn around and start pelting me with snowballs. What am I going to do about it? I'd be like a wildebeest surrounded by hyenas, right? There's nothing I could do. Boom, 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 boom.
Well, you pick them up and fire them back at them.
I might throw them over the bridge then if I ever got one. But anyway, yeah. So
yeah. Then you'd be done.
This guy was 48. My whole point. So
yeah,
I like to know if there's a reason why this guy did what he did, because
it seems as if there might be some psychological reason there.
Well, possibly. It doesn't mention him having any previous record of any kind. So I don't know if it's just a rage situation where we read about the other day about a guy who's drinking and driving and wandering all over the place, and then he took off and he fought the police and all that. Just pent up rage where he knew he was going to lose, but just indulged in that rage. And maybe this guy just lost it for some reason and started throwing stuff off the bridge because he was angry at the world. His version of rage.
Yeah. Yeah, angry at the well. Yeah, and again, there's too many people who are angry at the world.
You're looking at one. I'm angry about parts of the world like Gaza, like in a big way, and Ukraine, of course.
Yeah, but again, you're not the
these
person.
Things are solvable. What?
You see, you're not the person who's going to. You see, there's two in the modern world. There seems to be two ways to vent your anger. One, throw rocks at cars over bridges. Two, go mouthing off, nasty words on Facebook or something similar. All right. I don't think you're not the person who goes mouthing off nasty words on Facebook, and neither are you the person who's going to throw bricks off a bridge.
I'm more the type of guy that would assault my co-host on Talking Niagara.
So I don't live in it. I don't live in any fear whatsoever, do I?
No. Well, I could send the green bastard from parts unknown over there. Oh, that would be a reckoning.
Sorry, I'm out of here. See you. Bye. Yeah. Um,
Well, anyway, so what else we got then?
yeah. Okay. So, okay. More whales at Niagara Falls Marineland will die unless urgent action is taken.
This is a confusing article because it says they have these whales. They're going to die. It's really just a matter of time. So they have a couple of different options, and one of them is a place out in Nova Scotia, sort of a place where they could go. There's which is 100 meters around or something like that, or 100 acres of water, and 18 meters deep, which the beluga whales would be able to sort of serve out their life there. You can't really put them back in the wild because they're not prepared for that. So I don't know what you do, but and then it says, well, aside from that, we have places we can send them in the States and overseas. What you're really doing is just allowing them to proliferate or procreate and continue in the cycle of bondage. So, what do we do with them? I think the first thing you should do is make sure that they can't procreate, so there's no more new ones, and then find the most comfortable way in which these whales can live out the rest of their lives. Now they say, okay, well, we're going to send them to Nova Scotia. The people there really aren't too thrilled about it, and then they talk about sending them to different places in the States and in Europe. So the whole issue has to stop, basically.
Yeah.
To put wild animals in a place like that, leave alone as amazing as the dolphins are when they jump up, and the killer whales when they do their tricks. They're very smart creatures, and the beluga whales, etc. They're very interesting things. I've seen them in out west and in aquariums myself or marine lands there. It's time just to find ways of getting them back. Stop capturing them. Stop using captured animals like that to procreate in unnatural environments. Now, when we have the big zoo out Toronto way, most of those areas are meant to be conducive, to the animals. And so you'll have giraffes outside, you'll have bears and stuff like that, and gorillas on display, but have lots of room in which to run around and that kind of thing. And a lot of zoo activity these days is to keep animals that are on the brink or could be vulnerable, and therefore you want a supply of those animals in captivity so you can repopulate the areas where they become extinct.
Well, Phil Damers, who's the former Marineland animal trainer, who's director at Urgent Seas, is basically saying they need permission from the landowners in order to make this, make the move happen.
We're going to move out to Nova Scotia, but the landowners aren't too fussy about it. And the government says as long as it's okay with the landowners in and around there, then we'll do it. But the landowners aren't too fussy about it. That's the way I see it here.
Well, I hope that they do find a home, and I know Phil cares a lot about them.
Well, it's very interesting the type of situation they envisioned. Involved here is Charles Vinnick, and he's the guy that got the Free Willy freed.
Yeah,
he's the guy that was behind that, and Vinnick is the man who led the effort to free orca whale Kiko. Pardon me, from the Free Willy films. Who says he's from the Free Willy films? Who says a joint effort is the only way to save the belugas. He's yet to be constructed ocean well sanctuary could be a part of the solution. That's ocean well sanctuary. It's ideal. 100 acres of netted ocean enclosure with depths up to 18 meters, which would be probably pretty cool for the whales to hang out, you know?
Yeah. All right. Well, you know,
but under the proviso that the neighboring landowners go along with it, they don't seem to be too pleased about it. So I don't know if this is ever going to happen.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think people, you know, there probably needs to be some, you know, is one of these projects. I wonder whether the government could get involved in terms of help the negotiation without it costing the public a lot of money.
Well, it's supposed to. It says here, but the project has been in the works for years, and the Nova Scotia government says it will only approve a crown lease of the site if neighboring landowners consent to the sanctuary. And then Vinnick says there's been progress being made. However, things are moving very well, but it's a definite answer, indefinite at this particular stage. And pretty much is they don't have permission from the landowners. Says Phil Demers, the director of Virgin Seas. Our Phil here from Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
It's a non-starter to begin with. So he doesn't see too much optimism in this. Mm-hmm. So what do we do with them? Yeah. It's going to be really hard to wean ourselves off of marine lands like that. For one thing, there are a lot of investments being made in them all over the world, and you tell people, oh, well, we don't want these marine lands anymore. Well, people still go to the marine lands, and money is still being made. And what do you do when you have a marine land that really does take care of endangered species?
Yeah.
Like beluga whales could be a little bit vulnerable, but they're not endangered. Orcas themselves, killer whales are not either. They come in a whole different a bunch of varieties, by the way, too. They have the ones that go after fish. They got the ones that go after whales. They got the ones that go after sea lions. They've got the ones that rip the liver out of great white sharks.
Yeah, but have they been doing that for years?
Look, they are very, very adjustable. So if you have in the case where the killer whales were ripping the livers out of great white sharks in South Africa, right around South Africa, they off the coast there, they used to have a huge amount of great white sharks. Yeah. But then I think it was just two killer whales came in and started killing them. So, and ripping their livers out. That's something that hadn't been observed from before. But we get the idea that the killer whales could figure stuff out. And that liver is all I need out of the rest of the shark. That liver's got everything I need. And it's easy for me to rip them out. And they figure out how to kill the killer whale or the great white. They flip it on its back, or sometimes they ram it, and then they just tear out its liver. And they do that for other sharks too. But so killer whales are extremely smart and adapt many different techniques. I don't know how they learn them, but they can knock a seal off of an ice floe by swimming underneath it. And making a wave. How do they learn that stuff?
Yeah, and a killer whale is 3 times the size. Well, it's twice the size of a great white anyway, isn't it?
It depends. There's some that go very, very big. Great whites go very big, but yeah, it's bigger than a great white normally. And I'm telling you, they so adaptable and figure things out so interestingly and so intelligently. I'd hate to have a game of chess with one because I would embarrass myself.
Okay. So the other article, Gaza, hang on a minute. We've got one comment. Look, So was getting back to crosswalks. So are for public safety crossing, I'm not sure drivers would recognize those colors as a regular crossing. That was exactly my view, not Lee.
Well, if they put LGBTQ colors, I didn't hear that same comment about them. But I think, look, if you look at it, it is clearly a walkway because it's got two lines that go across and hatch marks along the way. It's just that it's not white; it's red, white, red, white. I don't think it could be confused with anything else, particularly when it's at an intersection. But anyway. I don't know. Maybe some sort of study has to be made of that if they've had any kind of incidences with other crosswalks that are different colors.
All right. Moving on to the last story. Tunisia is accusing Israel of a drone attack on aid ships that are coming from Tunisia to Gaza.
Yeah, they're trying this again. They're trying to get a flotilla of aid ships to go towards Gaza. They know they will be turned back, but it's a symbol. They hope to get through, but it's very unlikely they will. The Israeli Navy, even the American Navy, will probably help them steer them off. There was a fire on one of them, and the first thing they thought of was a drone attack by the Israelis. Very, very doubtful. Very, very doubtful. And that's why you have to really pay attention to the news. Now, if there was a drone attack, it was likely not from Israel. It's too far away. And for one thing, that flotilla is so far away that it's of no interest. It's just a passing interest at this point to the Israelis. They know about it. Yeah. And their ordinary Navy can steer it apart.
Well, these are private ships.
To hit it with a drone, a drone attack would be extremely foolish, given what they're going through right now. Universal, I don't know, disparagement from the rest of the world. And it looks like when the Tunisian police and military looked at it, it looked like somebody was just careless with a fire.
Yeah.
And something blew up. Let's face it, a drone would take that right out. The explosion would be huge. There were some people injured there, but a drone, you just saw what happened on a drone attack or a missile meant to take out a vessel in Venezuela, if that wasn't AI generated, but it shows you it's complete destruction. So if anybody hit them with a drone, it would have been a baby drone.
It would have been, if it was a military drone, yeah, you're right. Well, a baby drone's another matter, but a military drone, as you say, would likely just demolish that ship, right?
There's two different possibilities here. There's somebody just causing mischief, but I think it's been an accident. That's what the Tunisian military seems to think, that it was something to do with a life jacket getting on fire and a huge amounts of flame going up. I think it's just pure carelessness, if you ask me, but it could have been an accident. Something like that too. Very unlikely to be a drone, because a drone would cause way more damage. A drone attack would have caused way more damage. And the likelihood of them doing it in Tunisia? No.
Well, yeah, and I would see that a Tunisian ship, if it got closer to Israel, maybe then, but sending a drone out all that way seems to be a bit odd.
Yeah, so I think it went up in flames, and I think a lot of people started jumping to conclusions.
Yeah, probably.
It's a video verified by Al Jazeera shows an incendiary device falling on the ship and causing an explosion, but Tunisian National Guard says there's no drone was detected near the ship. So we have a conflict of information here. the says a drone bombed its principal vehicle, the family boat, Monday night, causing fire on its desk. The group says there were 6 people on board the vessel, that all were safe. The fire was quickly put out, but caused damage to the foredeck and below deck storage. I doubt if it would be an Israeli device. Al Jazeera says it has film saying something come down onto the ship, but the Tunisian military says there's no evidence of any kind of drone being in the area at the time. So if this, whatever it was, if it was something dropped from above, I'm figuring it might be just mischief by some third party trying to cause a problem. An activist who witnessed this incident said he saw a drone hovering over the boat before it dropped a bomb on the foredeck. The Tunisian National Guard, however, says reports of a drone attack were completely unfounded, and that initial investigations show that the fire broke out in one of the life jackets as a result of a lighter or cigarette butt. So there's, I would suggest it's more of the latter, but the film that Al Jazeera says it has would have to be investigated very, very closely.
But they haven't shown the film.
Yeah. So I would like to see that film. So you have 2 conflicting reports here.
Yeah.
I don't know why the Tunisians are not too happy about the Israelis in any way, for going back many, many years ago when the Israelis were doing assassinations and attempted assassinations in Tunisia. So I don't think they would do anything to cover up what the Israelis did, but they don't find any evidence right now. However, other people say they saw what they saw. So I'd like to see that sorted out.
And that becomes a challenge. Are we basically saying that what people saw, they didn't see?
Yeah, and the amount of damage it did it could be a hint too. So the surface deck and part of the underdeck was damaged, but nobody was killed. So if it was a drone attack, whatever the bomb was small by bomb standards, and so if it was an attack by somebody, it wasn't a sophisticated one, because it looks as if the ship could be repaired quickly and underway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and is it something from an amateur drone, or when I say an amateur drone, a smaller drone, a drone that might be a meter or so in size, rather than these plane-sized drones that the Navy and Air Force use?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's a mischief maker or someone who is trying to start an international situation. It's interesting. Tunisian army says no, we didn't see any drone. We don't see any evidence of a bomb. People say they saw the bomb come down and explode. So I don't know where we are here.
Yeah. All right. Fair. And I saw this, and I'm just had a question and thought, well, it seems to be something we possibly should discuss.
Well,
just for
the fact that the flotilla was on its way to Gaza is the story there.
Yeah.
They aren't going to be able to land, but the whole idea. But they're full of supplies. They came in from France, southern France, I think, full of supplies and ready to go to relieve the pain and suffering of the Palestinians in Gaza. But the Israeli Navy is going to board them and redirect them. It's just a matter of. But
back in 2008, there was some boats that actually got through the Israel blockade.
Oh, they did. I didn't know that any actually got through.
Yeah, back in 2008, apparently.
Well, anyway.
Long time ago, of course, that,
Yeah. So I think we're done our time here.
Yep, we are. All right.
And
So thanks everybody, and Dave.
yeah, we've been talking about Gaza, so I won't mention it much, except that don't forget it. This flotilla would have brought a lot of attention to the plight of the Palestinians, and that flotilla still might happen. But the idea is really to bring a lot of attention. If they can get through with their supplies, that would be great, but not likely they will. And without further ado, I bid you adieu.
Bye.